She has a double major with Italian, and she hails from Shelton, Connecticut. Okay. She's going to be talking about UV protective clothing.
Thank you, Dr. Phillips. Okay, before we start, just by a show of hands, how many people in this room have gone tanning or go tanning? Okay. How many people have gotten sunburned? More than 3 times? More than 5? Okay. How many people have either been affected or know someone who has been affected by skin cancer? Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I'm just going to give you some insight into kind of the increasing issue with skin cancer protection and the fashion industry's kind of stance on what they're doing to work towards like fixing this issue. Okay, so in recent years, there's obviously been a huge increase in the number of cases involving skin cancer, and the main contributing factor to this is ultimately UVA and UVB exposure, but it also is due to the changing lifestyle that has been seen in recent years, and more people are frequently attending vacation spots that have stronger sun or ultimately closer to the equator, and just to go lay out on a beach and get skin like a tan. So it's expected that the number of cases will actually double by the year 2100. There are various types of skin cancer, including basal cell carcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma, and melanoma. Of these types of cancer, melanoma is the most aggressive because its cells can metastasize twice as rapidly as compared to the other carcinoma types of skin cancer, ultimately making it the most dangerous. There's been a recent study not only on UVA but UVB rays, because UVB rays cause a delayed reddening of the skin. So if you're outside and don't think that you're getting sunburned, you might stay outside for a couple more hours because you're not aware that you actually did have damage done to your skin. And when there's a 1% increase in UVB exposure, it's said that there can be a 1.5% increase in the risk of getting skin cancer. So who is at most risk? Obviously, people who are pale-skinned and burn very easily are at risk, but more UVA and UVB exposure increases the chances, and if you have had more than 5 sunburns, your risk of developing melanoma has doubled. So I'm going to talk a little bit about protection. Obviously, the easiest way to get protection against the sun is by wearing sunscreen and avoiding the sun during peak hours, but full protection is actually not achieved if you're wearing an SPF lower than 30. It's really common to wear lightweight fabrics during the summer and warmer weather, such as cotton and linen, but these actually have the worst amount of natural protection against the sun, and a simple white cotton t-shirt only has a SPF factor equivalent, or protection factor equivalent to a sunscreen with an SPF of 5. The amount of protection depends on the type of fabric and the type of weave, so the tighter the knit or weave, the better protection that fabric has. Clothing itself offers a certain amount of protection, and there are various textiles such as polyester and nylon that have natural UV blocking properties. Does anyone remember, like, well, it's on the board now, but okay. As we learned in textile science, synthetic fibers contain delustrins, one of them being titanium oxide, and these are actually natural, like, properties that enhance characteristics such as tensile strength, durability, and the absorption rate. So it actually increases the UVB absorption for polyester and nylon. And then if you were to wash clothes with a detergent that contains like a fluorescent brightener to maintain a really bright color, that's also known to improve UV absorption for multiple kinds of fabrics. So what exactly happens when ultraviolet radiation comes in contact with the textile? There's three main things. First, part of the radiation is reflected at direct contact from the surface of the textile. The second part of the radiation is actually absorbed by the fabric itself and converted into a different type of energy, such as heat. And then the third part of the radiation travels completely through the fabric and comes in contact with the skin, and that's known as transmission. And this is just a little diagram that kind of puts it into perspective. So when talking about what the industry is actually doing about it, clothing as a means of protection continues to be overrated by a lot of people. While sunscreen helps, UV protective clothing provides that extra barrier protection that is needed with the depletion of the ozone in today's day and age. So a lot of research is going into the development of fabrics with some protective features, and there is a team in Australia that managed to create a material that closely resembles a pure close-knit cotton with a UPF factor of 100, which is extremely good protection. So how we go about this? When testing a fabric, there are specific standards and specifications that must be done for a fabric to be classified as UV protective. It is measured according to the Australian and New Zealand standard, and it must maintain a UPF, which stands for UV protective factor, of 15 after 2 years of wear and tear. From textile science too, a lot of the tests that we did are the tests that are used through the specifications, such as wrinkle recovery, tensile strength, oil stain resistance, abrasion factor, stuff like that. And then the ratings are as followed on the board. 15 to 20 is good protection, 25, 30, 35, very good protection, 40, 50 and up is excellent protection, so that's ultimately what you would want to find in a UV protected fabric. There are separate methods of applying UV protective agents to fabrics, and it's different if it's a natural or synthetic fiber. Protective finishes are applied to natural fibers during the finishing stages, whereas if you're dealing with a synthetic fiber, UV blocking agents are normally done through fiber extrusion or in the final stages of finishing. When determining the UPF of a fabric, there are two different methods that need to be completed. The first one deals with the fabric itself and measures the transmission of UV radiation that passes through the fabric, and that's known as the in vitro method. And the in vivo method measures how much the skin reddens with and without a textile to determine how much radiation is actually able to penetrate the skin. And both of these methods are completed using a spectrophotometer and a sun simulator. So when talking about fashion and protection together, the last 30 years have shown an increase in consumer interest and the desire for some protective clothing. So when thinking about appealing to the consumer, design obviously plays a crucial role. Sebastian Heitkamp is the head of marketing for BASF, which is a chemical finishing company based out of Germany. And he stated that one of the biggest challenges is finding the right combination of design with the suitable UV protective fiber. And then there's also another quote from Sebastian Heitkamp, which I thought was really interesting when thinking about it in relation to the consumer. It's not solely the UV additive to the garment, rather it's a combination of design, color, and the correct additive package together, generating the desired properties. And that just goes into the needs and constraints and just trying to create a garment that would ultimately be the best for meeting your consumer's needs. So when we put things into perspective, 54% of consumers are aware that UV protective clothing actually exists. 15% of these consumers have already purchased a UV garment. 4 out of 10 consumers would like to purchase UV athletic wear, and roughly 28% of consumers are willing to pay more for UV protective clothing. So there are a lot of companies that are kind of making a difference. Since, like lightweight fabrics are the most appealing and most desired for consumers during the warmer weather months, but fabrics such as cotton and linen don't really contain as good of the natural UV blocking properties as, say, synthetic fibers. Companies are really excited that this has provided a new way to create that lightweight fabric that is also very protective. So the first company that I looked into that's actually producing sun protective clothing is called SolarTex, and they've been a leader in sun protective products since 1998. They offer products such as sunscreen, SPF clothing, rash guard suits, swim shirts, UV suits, sun hats, and then they also have a line of leisure UV clothing, and all of their garments contain a UPF factor of 50+, which is the highest rating that you can get according to the standards. The second company that I looked into was the most interesting for me, and I think would be the most appealing to a consumer looking for everyday wear. They're known as Coolabah Quality Sun Protection. The company is known for bringing Australian advances to America and combining protection with fashion. Their mission states that their mission is to develop superior sun protective products that allow people to enjoy life in the sun. And all of their clothing has a UPF factor of 50+ as well. Their SunTech brand is one of the leaders in innovative fabric and contains a UPF of 50+ while providing 98% of UV blockage. And all fabrics are washed at least 40 times and subjected to over 100 hours of UVA and UVB radiation to ensure that protection is offered not only when you purchase the garment, but every single time you wear it after as well. The name Coolabah actually comes from a eucalyptus tree and is meant to provide relief and reliable protection from damaging rays. And their high-quality fabrics are guaranteed to be the most dependable on the market. So these are just some examples of what Coolabah has to offer, and it's more everyday wear. They have dresses, tunics, sweaters. They have a whole line of different kinds of hats that you would wear either with a sundress or just out in public if you're in the sun doing athletic wear, whatever. And they have men's wear, women's wear, and children's wear as well. The next company, Alex & Me, is an online one-stop shop for UV protective apparel that began in 1997. It was one of the first companies to import protective clothing from Australia, and they now carry over 3 dozen different brands, including Columbia, Patagonia, Quicksilver, Lucuda, Speedo, and a bunch of other ones too. So this was really cool because it gives you an opportunity to just go to one place instead of having to search a variety of different companies online. The last company that I had looked into is called EcoStinger. It's another company that offers sun protection through apparel, and all of their fabric is actually made in Italy. It's all chlorine resistant and contains a UPF factor of 50+ as well. And the fabric is verified to block approximately 97.5% of UV radiation. Their styles are known to fit like a second skin. It's not so much leisure wear, but they do a lot more of swimwear and UV suits. This particular picture that you see on the board is known as their Stinger suit. It's the UPF factor of 50+, but it also provides protection against getting stung by a jellyfish. Okay, so in conclusion, the ozone layer is probably going to continue to deplete, so it's expected that the number of cases of skin cancer are going to continue to rise. So the future of the industry is ultimately driven by the consumer and the needs that they're going to need in the future. Being that the number of cases involving skin cancer is expected to double within the next couple years, the demand is ultimately going to continue to grow. So further educational awareness is going to need to take place in order to help change people's minds about the use of sun protective clothing. And that's it. Any questions?
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
I want to make a connection between what you've just talked about and Hannah mentioned, she quoted from a book by a person named Richard Martin, who was the curator of the Costume Institute at the Met, and he died of skin cancer.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a lot bigger than people think that it is.
Yeah.
And
it's a pretty horrible way to die.
It really is.
Not that there's any good way, but.
There's